Before Eve, before paradise was shaped into innocence, there was another. Her name, whispered like a curse, erased from scripture, feared by children and priests alike. Lilith. The first woman, the first rebel, the shadow before the light. The Torah does not name her, the Bible silences her. But in the Alphabet of Ben Sira, in rabbinic whispers, her truth bleeds through. Adam was not alone in Eden. He was not first to love, nor first to command. There was a woman, made not from his rib, but from the same dust, the same clay. She was his equal. And that equality would ignite the first fracture in paradise. Imagine Eden not as peace, but as tension. Adam molded to rule, Lilith molded to defy. Where Adam demanded submission, Lilith demanded freedom. Where Adam looked downward, Lilith looked him in the eyes. She would not kneel. She would not obey. And in this defiance, the story of the world changed. For the first time, paradise knew conflict, and the angels whispered, "This is not the woman God intended for Adam." The seed of exile was already taking root. Lilith's defiance was not born from pride, but from origin. She was created from the same dust as Adam, not above him, not beneath him, but beside him. When Adam sought to dominate, Lilith spoke words that echoed like thunder. "I am your equal. I will not lie beneath you." The words scandalized the garden. To angels, they were blasphemy. To Adam, they were betrayal. But to Lilith, they were truth. Equality in Eden was not a blessing. It was a curse. The clash was not of bodies, but of wills. Adam demanded order. Lilith demanded freedom. And when their conflict reached its peak, she did the unthinkable. She spoke the ineffable name of God, the secret word that no mortal tongue was meant to utter. With it, she tore herself free. Wings sprouted from her back, black, feathered, immense. And with a scream that shook the trees of paradise, Lilith fled into the night. She chose exile over chains. She chose darkness over silence. And Eden lost its first mother. The Garden of Eden was never the same. Adam sat alone, betrayed and abandoned. He cried to the Creator, "The woman you gave me defies me. She will not return." And God sent angels, Senoi, Sansenoi, and Samangeloth, 3 messengers of judgment. They pursued Lilith to the shores of the Red Sea. There, among the demons of the deep, she had made her home. And there, she bore her first children. Creatures of shadow, children not of man, but of night. The angels commanded, "Return to Adam, or we shall strike your children down." Lilith laughed. Her voice echoed like thunder over the waters. "Then I cursed the children of Adam as mine were cursed. Where there is birth, I shall bring death. Where there is innocence, I shall bring fear. I am no longer wife, nor mother. I am the mother of demons." The angels struck. 100 of Lilith's offspring perished each day, and still she refused to yield. Every child lost became another whisper of vengeance in the night. This was no longer rebellion. This was war. The war of woman against man. The war of shadow against light. And it had only just begun. Lilith's true power did not come from strength, but from words. The angels claimed she spoke the sacred name of God, the ineffable syllables no mortal tongue was ever meant to know. With that act, she broke free from Adam's dominion, but in speaking it, she also shattered the harmony of creation. To utter the name was to trespass upon the divine. It was not only rebellion against Adam, but defiance against heaven itself. Lilith was no longer a woman of clay. She had stepped into something else, something unholy, untethered, and eternal. From that moment, she was beyond return. The paradise she abandoned could never welcome her again. The man she defied would forever curse her name, and the angels who pursued her would never relent. Yet Lilith did not tremble. She did not weep. She had torn her destiny from the hands of God himself, and from that act of rebellion, her shadow stretched across eternity. She fled into the wastelands, carried on wings blacker than night. Beyond the borders of Eden, where no angel guarded and no blessing reached, she wandered. The winds carried her scream across the desert. The waters of the Red Sea boiled at her touch. And where she stepped, shadows lingered. But exile was not solitude. The night welcomed her. Demons gathered around her, spirits of the void, children of chaos. They crowned her queen, a mother of darkness. And so Lilith became the first to walk not in God's light, but in the freedom of night. Adam wept for her return. The angels pursued her endlessly. But Lilith did not yield. She had tasted freedom, even if it was drenched in shadow. And in the solitude of her exile, something stirred. The whispers of the night coiled around her, promising companionship, power, and children not of man, but of darkness itself. The Red Sea became her throne. Its waves roared with her fury. Its depths hid her children. There, Lilith bore offspring, demons born of exile, creatures of night who carried her curse into the world. 3 angels descended to confront her. Senoi, Sansinoi, Semangeloth, messengers of wrath carrying God's command. Return to Adam, or we strike down your children. But Lilith's laughter split the sky. I will never return. I will never submit. If my children must die, then so shall the children of Adam. From that curse came a legend that Lilith stalked the night, taking infants from their cradles, draining life from the innocent. The mother who refused to obey became the mother of demons. The angel struck. 100 of her children perished each day, but each one that died screamed vengeance into the night. And Lilith herself grew darker, stronger, more eternal. She was no longer just Adam's lost wife. She was a curse, a shadow on creation. And her story was only beginning. From the throne of heaven, judgment fell. 3 angels descended once more, wings blazing, swords dripping with fire. They were not messengers of peace, but hunters. Their command was simple: bind her, silence her, end her rebellion. But Lilith was no longer the woman of clay who once shared Adam's bed. She was shadow, she was storm, she was the howl of the night itself. The angels sought to chain her with words of God. But Lilith's laughter broke their spells like shattered glass. You cannot bind me, she cried. You cannot cage what is born of dust in defiance. And with her cry, demons surged from the waters to meet the fire of heaven. The battle raged. Flames cut through shadow. Wings of light clashed with wings of night. The sea churned with blood and fire. Yet for every demon slain, another rose. For every strike of flame, Lilith's defiance only grew stronger. The angels did not win. They did not lose. They withdrew, leaving behind a curse written into the bones of mankind. Lilith would never be destroyed. She would never be silenced. Her name became fear itself, a whisper to terrify children in the dark. Denied her place in Eden, Lilith turned her fury upon humanity. The curse she spoke at the Red Sea was eternal. Where Adam's children are born, I shall strike. Where innocence sleeps, I shall haunt. Every cradle shall fear my shadow. Mothers whispered her name in terror. They placed amulets at their doors, carved with the names of the 3 angels, Sunoi, Sansinoi, Semangeloth, to ward her away. Midwives lit lamps through the night, for Lilith prowled in darkness. If the lamp dimmed, if the prayer faltered, she entered the house. She was said to sit at the bedside of women in labor, strangling the newborn before its first cry. Lilith was no longer only a woman. She was a force, a living nightmare, the mother of death itself. Every death of a child was blamed upon her. Every miscarriage, every sudden illness in the night her work. To men, she was seduction and ruin. To women, she was envy and destruction. And to children, she was death incarnate. But behind the terror, there was something more. Lilith was not only a curse upon men. She was also a rebellion written into the bones of women. A voice that whispered, "I will not submit, I will not obey." And that whisper carried across generations. From her exile came not only curses, but offspring. They say the first demons were birthed from Lilith herself, creatures of smoke and flame, spirits of lust and death. Her children spread across the world, carrying plague, famine, and temptation. In Mesopotamia, they called her Lamashtu, the child stealer. In Jewish lore, she birthed the Lilith daughters of the night, succubi who drained men in their sleep. To others, she was the mother of vampires, the first night creatures who fed on blood. She was the wellspring of every monster whispered about in the dark. Wherever cultures spoke of demons, shadows, or the night itself, Lilith's children were there. And she stood above them, not as victim, but as queen, the first mother of monsters. But though her children struck fear, her own figure became more terrible still. She was beauty and horror in one form. Her eyes promised ecstasy and death. Her voice promised freedom and damnation. She was the nightmare that men both fled and desired. A paradox eternal mother, destroyer, temptress, queen. And as her legend spread, one truth remained unshaken. She was no longer the lost wife of Adam. She was eternal shadow. She was Lilith, mother of demons. Night fell, and fear grew. When the sun slipped beneath the horizon, whispers of Lilith returned. They said she prowled in silence, wings stretched across the night sky, searching for cradles, searching for weakness. Mothers did not sleep. Fathers held lamps through the night, because Lilith was not bound by doors or walls. She entered through dreams, through shadows, through the breath of the wind itself. In every scream of a child in the dark, her presence was felt. In every nightmare that clawed through a sleeper's mind, her shadow passed, and so she became more than myth. She became the night itself. The rabbis called her Lilītu, the night demon, the bringer of stillbirth, of fever, of terror. And so, through amulets and charms, her name was invoked not to summon, but to repel. Her legend was proof of one truth, that Paradise's rejection had birthed humanity's first nightmare. But Lilith's power was not only death, it was desire. As centuries passed, her myth twisted into the succubus, a demon who crept into the beds of men, stealing their seed in the night. She seduced through dreams, appearing in forms of beauty impossible to resist, but in her embrace came ruin. She drained life with every kiss, every whisper, every touch. Men woke pale, broken, trembling, claiming a woman of shadows had visited them. Some called her nightmare. Others called her ecstasy. She was both. The succubus was not merely a fantasy of fear, it was Lilith's vengeance. If she could not rule Adam, she would rule all men through desire. If she could not bear holy children, she would birth monsters through stolen seed. Every encounter was both a union and a theft, and so she was cursed as the eternal temptress. To some, the first witch. To others, the first lover. But always, a demon of the night. Lilith could not be killed, but she could be warded off. Across ancient Israel, her name became etched on walls, carved into clay amulets, whispered in prayers. The three angels Senoi, Sansanoi, and Samanjaloth were invoked as guardians. Their names inscribed upon amulets were believed to keep her away from newborns. Mothers tied them to cradles. Priests buried them beneath thresholds. Even kings carried charms, fearing Lilith's wrath. But still, she came. Every shadow in the night could be her wings. Every cry in the dark could be her laughter. Lilith was not a myth to them. She was real. She was everywhere. Her story became woven into daily life. She was not written into scripture, but carved into memory. Not praised, but feared. Not worshipped, but never forgotten. And so, Lilith's curse lived on not only in demons and dreams, but in every child's first cry. Her legend became an eternal warning that rebellion carries a price. and freedom carries a shadow. As centuries passed, the legend of Lilith did not fade. It transformed. When Europe sank into the Dark Ages, whispers of witches filled the night. And who was the first witch, if not Lilith? She was blamed for storms, for barren fields, for stillborns. Her image merged with every woman who defied men healers, midwives, rebels. The church saw Lilith's shadow in them all. To accuse a woman of being a witch was to accuse her of carrying Lilith's blood. The mother of demons had become the mother of witches. Trials were held, confessions forced, and in the fire's glow, women burned not because they were Lilith, but because men feared that Lilith lived within them. The ancient myth had become a weapon. Lilith was not just a demon of the night. She was the eternal accusation against every woman who dared to speak, to heal, to rule. And her fire still burns. But not all feared her. Some worshipped her. In the secret chambers of occultists, Lilith was not the cursed. She was the divine feminine reborn. Where the church saw sin, magicians saw power. Where rabbis spoke of curses, mystics spoke of liberation. Lilith became the embodiment of the dark feminine, sexuality, freedom, rebellion. The side of womanhood suppressed by law, religion, and man. In forbidden grimoires, her name was invoked. Not to banish her, but to summon her. She became patroness of witches, mother of succubi, queen of shadows. To her followers, she was not monster, but muse. Not curse, but goddess. They whispered, Lilith is not evil. She is freedom. She is the part of woman that no chain can bind. Thus, Lilith transcended myth. She became symbol, the eternal shadow, and the eternal flame. Art could not ignore her. Painters, poets, and sculptors gave Lilith 1,000 faces. Sometimes serpent, sometimes angel, sometimes woman, naked and radiant, her beauty deadly as poison. In the Renaissance, she was painted as the serpent in Eden temptress who guided Eve. In Romanticism, she became the femme fatale lover who promised ecstasy and death in the same breath. To some, she was grotesque. To others, she was the most beautiful of all creation, and always. She was forbidden. In her image, artists found the eternal paradox of womanhood holy and profane, mother and monster, light and shadow. Lilith had been erased from scripture, but in art, she lived forever. Every brushstroke was rebellion. Every sculpture was confession. She had become immortal, not in heaven, not in hell, but in the imagination of mankind. The rabbis wrote of her defiance. The mystics wrote of her freedom. But in darker legends, she found a throne beside Satan himself. Some claimed she was his bride, others his equal. Together they ruled not in Eden, nor in heaven, but in the abyss. Where Satan's fire raged, Lilith's shadow danced. She became the queen of hell, not chained to him, but standing as his partner. If Eve was the mother of mankind, Lilith was the mother of monsters. If Adam ruled earth, Lilith ruled night. Her throne was not gold, but bone. Her crown was not jewels, but flame. And in this role, she was not servant, she was sovereign. For even Satan could not command her. She was his mirror, his rebellion given flesh. And in their union, the night itself deepened. But legends never rest. In Eastern Europe, Lilith's story twisted again. She was said to walk the night, pale and beautiful, feeding not on children, but on blood. And so she became the first vampire. The ancients whispered of her biting men in their sleep, draining their life, then vanishing with the mist. Her daughters, the Lilītu, were called succubi by some, vampires by others. From her womb, they said, came the blood drinkers, the eternal night walkers. Her exile from Eden had birthed not only demons, but a new species of darkness, the children of blood. To the villages of Europe, she was the first strigoi. To mystics, she was the root of the vampire curse. To poets, she was eternal hunger, never satisfied, never tamed. And so the mother of demons became the mother of vampires. Her shadow lengthened. Across continents, across centuries. But Lilith is not only past, she is present. Her story did not die in the deserts, nor in the scriptures, nor in the fires of witch trials. She rose again in ink, in art, in feminism, in rebellion. In the 20th century, her name was reclaimed. No longer only demon, but symbol. No longer curse, but power. She became an icon of independence, of female rage, of sexuality denied for centuries. Where once mothers whispered her name in terror, now women spoke it in defiance. Lilith had risen again. Not in darkness, but in fire. Her myth now lives in books, films, music, even astrology. The Black Moon Lilith in charts speaks of rebellion, passion, and the unyielding feminine. She is no longer only a monster in the night. She is a banner, carried by those who refuse to kneel. Lilith was never destroyed, and she never will be. For she is not just myth. She is the eternal shadow within us all. Myths fade, empires fall, gods are forgotten. But Lilith endures. From the sands of Mesopotamia to the witch trials of Europe, from the deserts of Israel to the haunted castles of Transylvania, her shadow stretches across time. She has worn 1,000 masks: demon, witch, vampire, goddess. But the truth is simpler. She is the eternal feminine that refuses chains. She is rebellion given flesh. She is the scream that was silenced, but never truly gone. And so, in every culture, in every age, Lilith finds a way to return. When women were burned, her name was whispered. When men dreamed, her shadow entered. When artists painted, her beauty haunted their canvas. And when rebels rose, her voice echoed in their defiance. Lilith is not bound to one story. She is all stories. She is the archetype of rebellion, dark, dangerous, necessary. And through her, humanity remembers that even in the beginning, paradise was not perfect. And now the question remains, was Lilith a demon? A goddess? A nightmare? Or was she something more, a mirror? A mirror of mankind's fear, a mirror of woman's power, a mirror of the truth that even in creation there was conflict, that freedom is always feared, that rebellion is always punished. Perhaps Lilith never existed in flesh, but in shadow she is eternal, for every culture that fears the night, for every child who cries in the dark, for every woman who whispers, "I will not kneel." Lilith rises again. She is not gone. She never was. She is still here. She is Lilith, mother of demons, queen of the night, the first rebel, and the last. And when you wake in the night and feel the shadow by your bed, perhaps she is there still, watching, waiting. Lilith.